Computer. All right. All right, guys. Welcome. Today we have Jules on. He's decided to come out of hibernation, even though he doesn't look like it. He looks like he's just sprouted out of hibernation. And Simon is busy sorting something out with a cleaner. I don't know if you're allowed cleaners at the moment, but Simon's still got his. He's still got Alberto going into his house to clean up. So, just before, when we were waiting for Simon, then we decided that we were talking too much good stuff. We were talking mainly. We started talking about like how we're struggling to get podcast time in. I think that's a real important thing to discuss with people because I don't think we'll be the only people. But I used to reserve all my podcast time was literally like on travel time. And actually driving to Freo and driving to Wembley and everything like that most days or every day. I was getting a fair bit of content in, but now I'm struggling to find it. How are you guys going with that?
You want to go first, Jules?
Yeah, no, I'm a bit the same.
Jules is like, I never listen to anything anyway. So.
No, I do. This last week I started running again. So that's like the only time where I can like listen to a whole chunk of a podcast, because otherwise it's just before we started recording, Adam was saying like he listens to music when he cooks breakfast, and even in a similar situation, if I wanted to listen to a podcast, it's always in like 8, 10, 12-minute blocks, and you don't really comprehend what you're hearing. So those running sessions that I do that go for usually half an hour, I can usually polish a good chunk of a podcast then. But yeah, I'm a bit the same as you, because I used to twice a week drive 50 minutes to wrestling training, 50 minutes back. And that was basically exclusively my podcast time. So I'm missing out on a fair chunk as well. So it sucks. I got to find more time. I have the time. I just don't have the mechanisms in place to.
It's creating the new channel of which you do it, like the new habit of doing it. Like my car time was always my podcast time. It has been since I started listening to podcasts. Maybe when I do some walking, I'll do that, but I haven't been walking that much, to be honest, as well. I'm still getting a fair few steps out, but I'm not going for long walks.
Yeah.
I'm trying to stay inside and make content for the people.
For the fans.
For the fans, for my followers. Do you guys know that I'm on a roundtable discussion on Wednesday? We have some pretty interesting
Yeah.
I was like, what is Ryan's head doing next to like Coach Wilmot and Woodford?
Yeah, what's this lip doing here? Did Ryan Photoshop that in?
I think you belong, Ryan.
I'm legit there. I'm supposed to be there.
Go kill it.
What time is it again, Ryan?
Well,
Plug yourself. What time is it?
It is on. Let me get it up. I'll get it up on my other screen because I have an influencer set up here, so I've got multiple screens.
It's on Wednesday.
Orphic Education. Okay, so they're the guys that we do our certs through. Our cert 3-4. And that will be at, I know I have to be on at 8 o'clock, so probably at 8 o'clock.
Okay,
10 a.m. 10 a.m., but that's Eastern time. So it's 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock, I'll be doing a bit of chit chat. I don't know how it's live because I think it's over Zoom, so I'm not sure how it's live, but tune in then.
People who are good with the technologies and stuff, they know how to like link it all up.
Well, yeah, Alex is awesome with that stuff, so it should be good. So it's you've got myself, and then you've got other notable figures like Christian Woodford and
the Wood,
Sean Baker and Carl Goodman. I don't know.
Wilmot.
Amir Farizi. I think I pronounced that correctly. I hope I did.
Is he he's one of the Woodford coaches, eh?
No, that's Alex. So Alex is the guy mediating it.
Yeah.
And then you've got Wilmot. So they're honestly some of the biggest names in S&C in this country today. So somehow I managed to sneak my way into that podcast, into that. But, I'll just be as Ryan as I can and try not to embarrass formidable strength and conditioning too much.
Nah, you'll be all right.
But no, it'll be good. I sent Christian a text message, actually. I sent him a message because we're mates. And I'll read you what I sent. Looks like you're going to be on a panel discussion with me, mate. Winky face. Good to see you stepping up. Take that, Wood.
What did he say to that?
He just laughed and called me an idiot, as per always. It's pretty much whenever I get a response from Christian about anything, he's generally calling me an idiot because I've sent him something stupid. But,
yeah, standard.
Yeah, it's pretty much like when I send a message, every time I send a message, it's silent. So, what about you, Adam? How you going with your potties?
Adam? Sorry, you broke up, but I assume you asked me the podcast.
Yeah, how's your potties going?
That's what you said.
Yeah.
Hello,
it's happened.
Hang on. Well, Simon's here.
Oh, that's what happened. We had Simon joining. Look at him. Why do you look like a drug dealer every time you come on?
I don't know.
So, just to catch you up because you're late.
Yeah, sorry, been busy.
It's okay. We're talking about how we're not getting as much. Me and Jules were saying we'd be struggling to get our podcast time in because we're not driving around all the time. Have you been experiencing that?
My podcast time?
Yeah, like your podcast time. Because whenever I drive is when I do my podcasting, but obviously I'm not driving anywhere at the moment. So I haven't. Me trying to find that time again has been hard.
Yeah, I've struggled a little bit, but because I get up early, take Winston for a walk, I usually put a podcast on then, and then I'll do the podcast again at night. So it probably takes me a week to listen to a podcast. It usually takes me a couple of days.
Yeah, because I used to churn through about probably almost like an hour-long podcast a day.
Yeah. Back
in the real world. And now I'm like, maybe not even one. So
I reckon.
Got to find them.
Although, Phil Darrow's ones are 25 minutes, so they're perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's what I was going to say before, Ryan, when I was talking about my half-hour runs. Like the shorter podcast formats are the ones that I try and stick to.
Yeah.
Like our
that
boy.
way you can get the whole thing in.
Yeah, like the mind pump ones and stuff like that. They're good, but you need to sit and listen to it all in one go.
Yeah, that's what we're saying. Yeah.
Mick Jodie and Mike Boyle ones who wanted like an hour plus most of the time.
Yeah.
Big struggle times.
Yeah, like I guess it depends on like the podcast you listen to, because obviously like we're all listening to strength and conditioning type podcasts. But if you're listening to like one of those like true crime or entertainment podcasts, pretty easy to just like chuck on as background noise almost.
Yeah.
You don't have to pay attention quite as much and like try to take in the information.
I need to start listening to the Peter Crouch one for some comedy value.
What Culture Wrestling? Just listen to that all the time.
Yeah.
Just
every now and again.
Just to hear them like be really salty about anything that WWE has done.
Yeah. It's just mind numbing. It's good.
Just listen to that stuff in your sleep, because all it is just like. But anyway, actual good podcasts are struggling to find. I have been listening. I've got Audible back, so I have been listening to. Let me get it up so I can remember what it's actually called, because it's about flow, but it's not actually called flow.
Oh, can you pronounce the author's name as well, please?
Oh, no. Mate, I can't even understand.
Can you play 2 minutes of it?
This is.
Can't hear it.
Well, you don't need to hear it because it sounds like freaking Bane telling you how to destroy Batman. So it's quite a struggle, but I've heard a million people say it's one of the best books they've read. Obviously, they didn't do it on the audio book because, mate, if they listen to it, it's a struggle. It's a struggle with the voice and the weird music that comes on every 2 minutes, but it is really good. It's called Flow, living at the peak of your abilities. By some guy who I can't pronounce the first name of, let alone the last name. But it is real good. It's just you have to be in the flow state, I guess, to be able to get through it. So, you know, you have to be actually living and breathing the principles he's telling you to get through it. It is really good. I'll do a review on it probably next week when I've managed to finish it. But yeah, it's good. It's just, as I said, it's like listening to Batman. It's like trying to listen to Bane take over Gotham City. And talk about how he was born in the darkness. It's quite tough at some points, but it is good. Simon, you've been doing a fair bit of study and posting on your Instagram, or we've been noticing. We thought you were ill.
It's in
Or Heidi had taken over your phone. What's going on there?
Oh, I don't know, just bored. I thought I'd raise my game.
It's true.
I have had about 4 hours sleep. I'm not really firing as usual.
Oh. Thank you, Simon. Thank you for that valuable insight. What have you been checking out? Because it looks actually quite interesting.
Well, yeah, I was listening to Phil Darrow's new podcast, and he recommended that book that I posted, like Scientific Principles of Strength and Conditioning or something like that. It's actually a powerlifting book. I think I'm about 3 paragraphs in.
How many paragraphs are it?
3, not paragraphs, 3 chapters.
Oh,
3 chapters. I've done about 100 pages.
Really big paragraphs, or why are you telling us that you've read the abstract at the start?
I've done done about 100 pages. So yeah, it's been quite interesting. I'm getting to the point where they're talking about the point at where your recovery and intensity. Hold on, I'll grab the book. It's just here.
Is this the kind of thing you were posting about the other day, Adam?
Maybe. Who knows?
You posted a nice little graph that I had to look at.
Yeah. I'll wait till Simon.
Well, you were doing your stick figure drawings the other day.
He was.
Yeah, I got them here actually. They're pretty good.
See, prepared to talk about what he's been doing this week.
How
Is that
good?
just are you figuring out moment arms and stuff like that? What's the go?
Oh, I'll let Simon finish before I go.
Oh, before you delve in deep.
Yeah, look, fucking double-sided, like 200 pages.
That's a thick
Simon's
one.
like, look, I read.
I finally and yeah, I'm about that far through.
Whooshka.
But no, yeah, I'm just at the point of like overload. Like, so they've broken it down into like the 7 variables, and they've done it specific for powerlifting. But I want to try and take what I can from it and use it with the guys that like their strength training, but not specifically for powerlifting, I guess, because we don't have anyone that wants to compete, or we might do. Who knows? But yeah, it's been quite interesting so far. I have to get my notes later and chuck some stuff up.
All right, Adam, what have you been doing? You've been sitting there with your notebook, waiting like a good boy. Let's go.
I just had this open, but yesterday I was like looking into force vectors and stuff. I was watching a video on that. I did some nice drawings. There's my drawings there. So basically, like, the whole concept is like gravity. The force is always going to be acting vertically down. We can't change that. And when you're using, like, say, if you're in like a normal, like, conventional gym, they'll have like machines and stuff. So the force vector is dictated by the machine. But if you're using free weights, the force vector will be dictated by gravity. And in order to have transfer to sporting movements, you have to manipulate your body position to mimic the action of the sport. So one of the examples was like sprinting versus like a squat and a hip thrust. So because in a squat, the force is going to be vertical, whereas in a sprint, the force is like more horizontal, by flipping my body and lying on my back and then lifting the weight. You're still lifting the weight vertically, but based on your body position, it's looking more like the sprinting action, like how that transfers. And then also how you can manipulate moment arms to train different muscles. So like a squat versus an RDL, the body position and all that. So obviously like an RDL, you're using more like posterior chain with like hammies and glutes. And then squat, you're going to use more quads and still glutes as well. That's kind of the idea there.
Good. You get a gold star.
Yeah, very nice.
That's good. That's important stuff because exercises are exercises, but if you don't understand like the mechanics going on behind it and how you've always got to consider gravity, it was one of the biggest things that me and Simon talked about when we did swimming, because obviously gravity isn't as big of a factor, and buoyancy becomes a massive factor. So it's almost the opposite. So you've got to really consider that when you're doing it. So yeah, it's good. You've got to really think about those things. If you're trying to apply it specifically to sports and stuff like that, it makes a lot. You've got to know that stuff. It's good.
Yeah. And the other point that they brought up was just because a movement looks similar to the sporting action doesn't necessarily make it specific in the sense that you're training the same muscles. So one example was, say if I took ankle weights, chuck some weights on my ankles and then chuck some on my wrists and then just sprinted as hard as I could. Like you'd look at that and you'd say that looks like I'm sprinting and it looks like I'm just training with a bit of resistance. But in reality, I'm not training the movement and the muscle firing pattern the same as I would when I'm sprinting. So doing something like a resisted sled drag, like sprinting with like a sled attached around your waist and like, or pushing a sled or something like that, that action will train sprinting more specifically than, even though it might not technically look quite as close to the movement.
Yeah, it's about where you need to apply the force. Because if you put ankle and hand weights on, you're realistically doing the opposite.
Yeah.
You're training the opposite function rather than the actual function you're looking for.
Exactly.
So like that's why sleds are so much better, because it's teaching. All you got to think about with like running mechanics is you've got to apply more force to the ground. So how can you mimic the running action while making sure that they have to apply more force to the ground to do so, not the other way around? What's good? That's good, mate. It's good that you're getting onto that.
It's nice.
What about you, Jules? What's going on?
Well, you
How's
know,
motivation like? Simon, do you reckon he looks like he just crawled out of a cave?
Hey.
He just looked, when he first got on, he was like, it's like he looked like he got out of his cave today.
But he's not an early morning person, so he's probably been like...
Not anymore. I'm retired from mornings. That's. I haven't gotten up before 5 in like 2 months. It's good.
Yeah, it's going to hurt when you have to do it.
Yeah, I know. What have I been doing? So obviously my focus or passion is combat sports, and seeing as clients are obviously limited at the moment, I've decided to make myself into the best prodigy of an MMA fighter of all time. So I downloaded this PDF from Phil Daru. It's called, I got it on my phone somewhere. I think it's called Making the Complete Martial Artist. And it's a S&C program that's coupled with a mobility routine, a bunch of mobility routines. And the most interesting thing for me has been he actually, because with MMA and other combat sports, there's so many different types of styles, and each one of them requires their own kind of S&C program. Like every athlete from each style needs their own strengths. And then most athletes, like for example, a boxer will have deficiencies in the patterns that he would need for jiu-jitsu. So he's trying to complement all the different styles together. And it's a really interesting program. It's interesting reading. And then it's accompanied with, on his YouTube channel, he has, his YouTube channel is just his name. And then he's got each different, it's like boxing performance, judo performance, BJJ performance, and then MMA training at home. So you kind of watch all of them, and half of them are mobility stuff, and then the other half is S&C. So probably by the end of this, I'm going to be like the next George St. Pierre or something.
It's going to be a machine.
I am my own client at the moment. So I've been hibernating and doing mobility so I can get my legs higher for head kicks.
How's your shoulder going? Can you lift your shoulder above 90 degrees?
My shoulder functions pretty good, but it still looks munted. I don't know. Maybe it's just going to be like that forever.
Annika's sitting next to me. Do you want her to do an on-screen assessment for you?
It feels good at the moment. Like the mobility's there, and I've been doing a lot of boxing, and it's been fine, but it looks bad. It looks very bad.
Simon, you did something about you listened to something on MMA the other day. You were telling me about strength conditioning stuff. What was that about?
Yeah, the Phil Daru, Jules is just doing his program. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
so it's
Simon-
exactly the same thing.
The same
Simon
guy.
got me
Yeah,
onto
yeah.
him. Simon got me onto him.
So
Oh, nice.
Phil, kind of kept an eye on his stuff for a while, but his is more energy system based. I've found, which is completely different to how everyone else programs. But obviously, that's with fighters. You probably need to look at, through the energy systems, just because of the demand of their other training. So swimming and stuff should probably look to take note from that sort of style. I know we do a lot of strength stuff. So I had to go his aerobic capacity 5-minute AMRAP twice last week.
Yeah.
Whereas 50% of your trap bar deadlift and 50% of your push press, as many rounds as you could do. I did 23 on Wednesday and 25 last night.
Nice.
It's kind of like joint friendly conditioning. I guess that's what he's trying to do because of the amount of movement they do in their combat training, which I don't really know about, but Jules, I'm sure you can teach me.
Yeah, I just find that sport specifically to be a really interesting one to program for, just because you have to produce a massive amount of force over a short period of time, but you have to do that over a long time, up to 25 minutes for most combat sports. You know, we're like,
Yeah.
I can't think of, like a sprinter would have to produce a lot of force over a short period of time. An MMA fighter, a combat sport athlete, has to be able to do that, produce as much force as they can, for example, like a flurry or a single punch. But they have to do that continuously over 25 minutes with only
It's
60
the variations in rest that I find so interesting, because there's no, like, they're not going to know when they're in there what rest periods they're going to have while they're resetting and looking for a new opportunity, do they? So
Exactly.
how do you not get gassed?
Exactly.
How do you not gas yourself out? It's something that whenever I watch it or whenever I look at that kind of stuff, I go, like, whatever they're doing, I want to figure that out.
Yeah, that's the thing. So like I find those athletes in particular, and obviously I'm biased because when you read a lot about one topic, you gain more of an appreciation for the athletes, and then you kind of seem to put them on a pedestal anyway. So I haven't done this amount of research into any other sport because this is my favorite one to read about. But I find it amazing how efficient the athletes are with their energy. So because it's such a high stakes sport, in your active rest times, when you're backing off or not actually throwing any strikes, or you're not engaging in any grappling, you're trying to recover, but because of the stakes of the fight, obviously you're always in a lot of danger. So becoming efficient with letting the energy systems recover in a quick period of time while not taking any damage becomes super important. And then obviously in between rounds, they get the 60 seconds. So how to maximize that while still taking in a bunch of
Of information and getting fixed up. Yeah.
Like, I'd love to do like the strength and conditioning of an MMA but not do the MMA stuff. Like, I don't think I could handle the load.
Yeah.
Like the amount of load they do is just nuts. Like you think about how many hours they train with all that grappling stuff and how fatiguing that is, and then they've got to do 2 or 3 strength and conditioning sessions and a load of running, and it's freaking nuts.
I remember watching on YouTube ages ago when the UFC used to do like 24 hours of this person, and then they did it with Brock, like Lesnar, and oh my God, it was like
he's a freak.
Most mind-opening thing I've ever seen in my life. A guy that big doing that much work and that much intensity all in one day, it was absolutely insane. Go check it. Go check it out. It's on YouTube.
Yeah, it's still on YouTube. Yeah.
It's absolutely. I used to get pumped up to it. I was like, this is sick.
Yeah, it's like it's somewhat of a motivational montage, but it is his training routine. And I also find
the 5-minute rounds and stuff like that. Everything was based on 5 minutes. His S&C stuff was nuts. Especially I saw people doing bear crawls actually, but it was ages ago when I watched it.
Yeah, definitely.
And I was like, this is nuts.
Yeah, and then obviously the other thing is all of that what we just spoke about has to get coupled with some of the most extreme dieting of any sport, because their tapers, the taper athletically that they're going through has to coincide with a weight decrease of sometimes 30, 40 pounds over 10, 12 weeks. And then in the last 2 days, they're losing a massive amount of body weight, mostly through hydration that no other athletes really do besides combat sports athletes. Yeah,
so like while they're trying to recover, they're actually under recovering in their nutrition. So it's double whammies. Yeah, that's what they say. They say guys only can cut weight so many times before their body learns not to do it.
You see a lot of fighters that get
up weight classes.
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of fighters when they get older will have to go up in weight class because their body won't. It won't let them do the same.
It won't let them cut. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So what weight class are you going to come out of COVID-19, Jules?
Super heavyweight. My diet's cleaned up a little bit, but yeah, it's just I've got to stop buying beer because there's always beer around, and it's not a normal drinking routine where usually I've never been a big drinker, so usually maybe like once a month or twice a month I'd get drunk, but that'd be the only time that I would drink. Whereas now I'm just like having a few beers and never getting drunk.
Beers, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm doing it like every day, so it's calorie central.
It's like that. It's a bit like that. Like you got to stop buying stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
It's the best way to do it.
Yeah,
it's what that's where we're at, I think. But we did just order that big load of wine, so I think that's going.
Well, Canadian club,
a safe place where Annika's going to not going to let me find it, and we're going to save it for some time. Thanks.
Canadian Club whiskey have put out CC and dry drink, and the cans have 100 calories and 0 carbs. So if you're going to do it, they're the one.
How many calories is in a gin and tonic?
Good question. I don't like gin and tonics, so I couldn't tell you.
Because I've been suckling on a few of those lately. We're drifting into conditioning. What's good because we talked about we're drifting into the world of conditioning. What's nice because we were talking about it beforehand. We had a brief conversation before we said we got to start filming because we're going to talk about all the good stuff before we film any of it. Deconditioning. When should sports go back? What do you reckon, guys? Pick your sport. When is sports going back? I'm going to go rugby because I love rugby.
I'll go basketball because that's the one I know the most about.
I'll go rugby and swimming because I have inside information. Not really. What about you, Simon? Where are you at?
I'll go soccer because I keep an eye on that.
He keeps an eye on that. Jules, what about you? Fight Club. Have they set up that private island yet, or is that not happening now?
No, it's getting there. It's getting there. So Disney bought ESPN. Disney owned ESPN, and ESPN gave Dana White the all clear to run the fight cards, but Disney axed the idea.
So they were going to do the private island.
Yeah, but Disney don't want to borrow it. But I'll do two sports. I'll do combat sport and I'll do Australian rules football because combat sports has an easy answer. AFL not so much.
Yeah, the combat sport some of those guys are in training all the time, and they're just they've got cards set up for ages, don't they?
Yeah, I think there's a card scheduled for May 9th.
They'll just go to it and say we can't run it. They'll cut it and then they'll go again.
Exactly. Yeah.
Repeat.
Yeah.
So that's not really that hard, is it?
No. So the simple answer for combat sports would be 85% of fighters have a 16-week or a 12-week fight camp. So assuming that whatever legal restrictions get lifted, 16 weeks after that, I'd say they're fine to put on a fight card. So it's a pretty simple answer in that case, as long as they can get access to their full team. Because a training camp for a fighter would include 2 S&C guys or 1 S&C guy. A lot of them use Phil Daru. And then they'd have a boxing coach, a jiu-jitsu coach, and a dietitian, blah, blah, blah. So if they can get access to everybody, 12 to 16 weeks after that, they'd be fun to put on a card. So I think that's the best and safest option for that sport.
Regarding but they've still got people training. They've got people training right now for the next card, and there's a card after that as well. It's already announced. Yeah. So
most of them never stopped. So
they're announcing cards every day. I don't know how they keep
the card that was scheduled to be on Sunday, yesterday, that got cancelled. That was the first one to get cancelled because that was a mess because of when it was. But it was funny because the fighters on Instagram were posting that they still made weight. Just to
I saw that.
You know. So that just goes to show though that they never stop training, and if they can make weight with all the current restrictions we have, then it's obvious that they haven't stopped training. So yeah, that's that. What about swimming?
My take on swimming is actually a little bit different than just telling you when it's going to come back. I'm talking for a lot of guys, there's a lot of people freaking out, I think, with swimming. But realistically, now is the best time we've had maybe in the last 4 years to have like an actual off season where swimmers don't have to load themselves up so much on the swim training. I feel like it's a perfect opportunity. Like, if you look at the pool guys, they literally have 12 months until their national championships again. Like, if you take short course out, because most of them don't really care that much about short course now anyway, there'll be Olympic trials at some point, but the Olympics is so far up in the air. And for the guys that we're probably talking to, there's not any of those guys that are going or probably would go. There's a few outside chances, but realistically, no. So they've got those guys have got a year to train. So they've got a perfect opportunity to have a massive off season, actually get some recovery and build some strength in their body and fix up all the injuries that they've been dealing with for the last 4 years or whatever that you never get time for, because they go from nationals and then they get a 2-week break sometimes, and then they're back into full training again. So for all the swimmers out there, especially the pool guys freaking out, stop freaking out, because this is the best opportunity you're ever going to have to work on some stuff that you've always wanted to work on or do some things you've always wanted to do. Get that mental break and then you'll be better for it when you come back. I don't see the point in rinsing yourself right now, because you have no idea what's going to happen in 12 months' time or even 6 months' time or whatever. Yeah. Take the break. Open water is a little bit different because, they're summer. So they've still got ages, but their timeline's obviously a lot less. So, but you still got time, man. And they can swim in the ocean still and stuff like that. So I don't think there's much of a hassle. Obviously, they're going back when the competitions are allowed to reopen. So that will depend on borders and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I think it's obviously, for a lot of guys right now, it is the best time they're ever going to have in a lot of sports to have an actual off season and get your body right and work on something that you don't have the training capacity to do. And obviously in our eyes, that's get strong. But if it's sorting your nutrition out, sorting your psych out, whatever, spend the time on that, because you've got the time now. Do it. It's easy. Opportunities everywhere.
Yeah, I think it'll be good for the mentality of a lot of athletes, because there's been studies conducted on what happens to an athlete psychologically when they get injured and they know they're going to miss a season, and how they automatically feel like they're going to fall so far behind that they might never catch up. Well, now nobody's playing and there's no competitions, so you can kind of take that weight off your shoulders, and like you said, just use this time productively without feeling like you're falling behind, because nobody's going in front of you, because nobody can compete.
Yeah, unlike an injury, it's everyone's in the same boat, not just yourself. And if you're someone who makes the most of that opportunity, you actually come out on top compared to everyone else who just kind of stresses out or sits around and does nothing.
Yeah.
But it's also different. You got amateur versus professional sports. So the amateurs, that will take its time to come back. But the professional sports have got contracts, obligations. They're going to have maybe 6 to 8 weeks notice or less to get prepared. So they're going to be in be provided with some general program that they're doing, and then they'll go into maybe 4 to 8 weeks of specific stuff to hope they're fit to meet all the contract obligations of the TV, the league, the club, all that sort of stuff. Like in the EPL, they're looking at kind of maybe a festival of sport, which would be cool to see. Of like, they've all got 10 games left, and they'll probably have 40 days to do it.
Yeah.
They're talking about like setting up hubs in certain parts of the UK, and it'll just be like going around every 4 days. There'll be every team will be playing. They'll have, I think they're going to open up to 25, 30 players in the squad, increase substitution. So they've obviously got to do everything they can to limit injury, because the next season will probably start when it should as well. Whereas
it's the same
amateur sport, they'll just the amateur sport, they'll just write off the season probably. So I guess amateur athletes in WA and stuff, they'll just be running laps. So that's all they're doing. If they've got no gym program or nothing, it'll just be the old school, run as many laps as you can every day or every couple of days, or drink piss every second day.
Yeah, for the ones that are just sinking piss every day.
Yeah, so
you guys talking about me?
Two extremes.
No, you're a UFC fighter, man. You don't drink piss.
Okay.
But yeah, it's like I was going to say with the rugby at the moment over in the UK, that like this is the one podcast that I probably do make sure that I listen to because I love it to bits. But they're talking about like if they reopen the season, how long for those guys to get back in condition where they can do contact again? Like, because you can say the season could start here, but like if those guys start running into each other, people are going to break into bits. Like, you got 100+ kilo boys running real fast into really big collisions. Like, they'll be broken if they don't have like a real good. That's why they have the preseason and the off time, because they all need to recover so much because they're beating each other up. Like, so that'll be interesting to see what happens with all the rugby tournaments over there. I feel, or over here, even Super Rugby. Like, who knows what's going on with Super Rugby? They'd probably get canned, to be honest.
I think, for a lot of the sports, like obviously, like you've got the contractual obligations and all that. But in order to have like the most successful season the following season, you're probably almost looking at just canning the season, and that's probably going to be the best situation. Like, you'll suffer whatever loss now, but like the injury risk that not having a proper preparation like poses, and a lot of these injuries are going to be pretty severe. How many players are going to then miss out on the following season, and then what's the downside of that? So like, one of the people that I follow was saying for basketball, like, and this is applicable to all sports, but say normally when something like this happens, if there's like a lockout or something, some issue with the league, they'll still be able to play somewhat structured basketball, like pick-up games or play like unofficial competitions where there's still some level of competition. But even when they return back to playing like your professional level basketball, just like that level of intensity goes up another level, and everything just increases. The stakes are obviously higher, and that's just like a different level of conditioning, like a different level of mental preparedness that you need. And then on top of that, like, so like right now they can't even do that. So going from absolutely nothing to then trying to get yourself back into game shape, you could do all the body weight stuff, or a lot of these guys might have access to a gym, but they won't be playing their sport, and physical strength doesn't equal like performance on the court if you don't combine the two. So the timing, like, you can maintain your muscle mass, you can maintain all of that, you can maintain your strength, but actually playing the sport and maintaining the timing of your contractions and maintaining your skills and stuff like that, if you lose that, then there's going to be so many injuries, and like a lot of non-contact injuries due to like poor muscle firing patterns, that because they didn't get the repetitions in that they needed. And then back to like the contact stuff, there was like a study done on NFL, I think it was like 2004 or something like that. They had a lockout year, and the study looked at Achilles injuries like for that season. So a normal NFL season, they'll have an Achilles rupture, maybe they'll have like 5 across the season, like 1 a month or something like that. And then following the lockout, they had like a shortened preseason where they had like a 4-week training camp or something like that, which would normally be much longer. And then within the first 12 days, there was 10 Achilles ruptures. And that's just for Achilles, like all the other injuries they didn't even look into. So just an Achilles rupture is like a pretty major injury. So that's going to have flow-on effects to the next season as well. So just the implications for that is like pretty insane, I reckon.
Yep. It's a crazy time to be alive, eh? Who would have thought? Funk it. But the NRL is going to start up again, so you hear that?
Yeah, what's their plan?
Rugby league. So I've followed it a little bit, but I'm not a massive. I'm more of a union boy than a league boy. So I'll give you what I've heard, and if anyone listening knows better, let me know. But they were talking about playing an entire season in this like weird little area, and they were just going to have all the teams in there, and they were going to play like. Because the season should have started by now, so like they're going to catch up and play over. So like the EPL we're going to do. It will be like shortened times between games and stuff like that. But everyone will just be playing. It'll be like a rugby sevens tournament, but for the entire season. Is my understanding of it, and they've apparently been green lighted for that. I'm not 100% sure though. That's just me going off what I've heard.
Yeah, right.
Is that an increased load on athletes with less preparation there?
Oh my god, yeah, fuck. But like, sorry. One swear word on the yeah, but like, you know, the money's going to talk at the end of the day. Like we're sitting here. Yeah, you've got to look at it from two sides. So we always sit from the side of the coach, but like other people are going to be sitting it from the side of the management. Like management's going to say, look, we need these sponsorship deals. We need this, we need that. Or you guys aren't getting paid next year. The club's going under, the league's going under. The NRL talking about the league not being able to sustain it next season, even if they get the season going now. So like, and that's one of the more dominant sporting codes in this country. So like how they're still looking at a bailout. So like you petty guys like rugby union, who's already in a lot of financial stress, who just had to do an 80% wage cut across all people. So like it's a weird time, and it's going to get a bit weird, I think. But I think Australian sport should be bouncing back pretty soon. In WA, I think I don't know. I don't want to say anything because I don't know, but I feel like with what you're hearing, it's with the numbers and the flattening of the curve they keep talking about, it seems like things are going to start bouncing back.
Yeah, like at a local sporting level, I think a lot of stuff will be able to return sooner than they originally expected.
It is an interesting concept.
Maybe Waffle might get a kick-off or something like that. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see.
The thing with the Waffle is like, you know, hypothetically, obviously, we only had one new case yesterday, right? So if we were to eradicate new cases over a period of a couple of weeks where the numbers stay super low like they have been, and they determine that the risk is minuscule, every Waffle club in WA sits within the regional boundaries. So without opening up interstate travel and without without reopening those regional borders, you could still play a season. Yeah. The deepest south team is Peel, and Peel's the end of that regional ban.
Yeah, but so Peel you can get into.
Yeah, exactly, right. So you could play a whole season like normal, and everyone could use their home grounds. Probably, you'd say without fans or with a small cap of people allowed at the ground, but you could probably play a whole season of Waffle with kind of minimal risk.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what these numbers should do. And we normally don't actually talk about this because there's so much crap going on anyway, and we don't actually know anything. It'll be interesting to see what happens in terms of sport and stuff like that going forwards. But there's some positive signs. It seems that something's happened. It's just a case of, you know, making sure enough testing's been done and enough time has been had before people start being stupid again.
Exactly. Yeah, patience is the big key here, I think.
Or liberate WA.
Oh no! Did you see the photo I shared on my Instagram story today?
Yeah, they're cooked, man. But it's not. We're diving into politics now. Yeah. This is definitely not what it's about.
No politics.
Simon, have you got anything else interesting to add?
No, I'm all good, I think.
How's the dogs, Simon?
I don't even know where they are, to be honest.
They've ran off.
Oh no!
I've got one shout out that I've got to do. I just had an email come in from the guys at the Type 1 Diabetes Family Centre. They are running a challenge at the moment. I have been nominated to do it, but I'm waiting to do my talk with Beck before I start doing it. But we keep getting that pushed back because she's the most busiest person on the planet. FSC team, like a shout out. So the Let's Get Physical challenge, if you want to go to, let me just get the link up. They're doing a let's get physical challenge, maybe accept. So they're asking if we want to mention it to all of us guys to pick one and go from there and get it on. So I think from when I got nominated, I'm going to nominate all three of you now because I've been nominated, so I can. You can do, it's 25 or something like that, okay? So you can create your own.
Push-ups or...
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about the Type 1 Family Centre.
Yeah, okay, but what do we have to do? Like, you're not really...
You get a choice, Simon. You get a choice. Let me get it up so I don't get the information wrong, and then I'll let you know. But challenge yourself. So you can either do push-ups, burpees, or ultra marathon.
Well, that's an obvious choice.
Okay, let me just read the rules.
The ultra marathon one's like you run like a certain amount of Ks a day and then...
Yeah, run a minimum of 2K every day, a day for 25 days. So that gets you 50 Ks plus. And track your progress with the fitness app, share with your supporters. So that's only me because I'm the only influencer here. The burpee challenge, you can do burpees. That is to do 30 burpees for 25 days every day, recording your 30 burpees and sharing them.
No, thanks.
Nope.
Simon can't even do 30 burpees, so maybe that should be your challenge, Simon.
No. I'll do the push-ups.
I think the push-ups...
Well, this is what I was going to do as well. So
It's the push-ups
25 push-ups a day. Well, you think about it, most people can't do push-ups.
Yeah. Most people can't do a burpee.
Most people can't do 30 burpees, though.
Well, geez, sorry. Well, people might be able to do burpees. I feel like a push-up across boys and girls is harder than burpees.
Controversial.
Yeah, maybe. But which one's
I might
safe?
do the runs.
Oh, if it's across the whole day,
anyway.
yeah. If you can break it up into like fives or something.
Yeah,
true.
you've got to do 30 burpees every day for 25 days. It doesn't
Yeah,
say
okay, you
anything.
could just do 10
non-stop.
morning, 10 lunch, 10 at night, and then you've done your 30, yeah.
And push-ups you're allowed to do on your knees if you like.
I'll do the push-ups.
I reckon I'm doing push-ups because I like getting on the gains train on the chest a little bit extra. So
I might run. I'll run.
All right,
how's
so
the world when I'm doing chest and Jules is doing cardio? Simon, what are you going to do, mate? You going to run? You've been doing it,
Simon's
running.
doing burpees is
What do you
decided.
do?
Running every
Simon's
day.
doing burpees.
I'm not doing burpees.
Why not? Or you can create your own. Set your own challenge. Create your own personal or family challenge and make a commitment to complete the task in 25 days. What about if we do like a group thing? What about if we pick something and as a team, we have to get so far?
Sure.
I'm keen.
Yeah.
Cardio?
Running. I've been doing it anyway.
I've never seen Jules so excited.
Yeah, but Simon, you can walk if you like. So let's pick a kilometre distance.
Hey, I've been walking and running every day.
Good. See, so you're prepared. So you're ready to go. All right, so we're doing a cardio thing. So let's pick a distance.
Oh, can I just do push-ups?
No, you're in, mate. We all need to do a bit more cardio, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty good for me, to be honest.
And it will make us do it, what's the main thing. So accountability is key. Google Maps. So we'll go from the gym in Wembley or gym in Freo.
How far are we running?
Yeah. What's the
Well,
distance?
I'm going to find out.
That's a long-ass distance.
It's 4 of us over 25 days.
Oh, right.
Total.
Yeah, but how are you splitting this up? Like, are we running that every day, or that's the distance we'll run?
No, I'm talking there would be a total distance, yeah,
Okay.
of, say, the Fremantle gym to some Kalgoorlie, for example,
Fuck.
to do over 25 days. I'm not saying Kalgoorlie, we're just spitballing here.
Why don't you do between our 4 houses?
Yeah, let's
Because we
set
live
this up
like
off
a
camera.
kilometre away from each other.
Yeah,
I
but
live
he's
in
got,
Freo.
he's East Freo. Adam's up at like Inaloo.
Yeah, near Scarborough.
All right, what we'll do, we will stop
Off camera,
recording
we'll
because
figure it out.
off camera we'll figure this out and we'll announce it tomorrow.
Okay. Well, do
But
you
I reckon we'll
wanna-
do something big and we try and
Have you
raise some
stopped
big bits of money
recording?
for it. No, I
it's still
haven't.
recording.
But this is my shout out. So that's the Let's Get Physical challenge. If anyone else wants to do it, please go on to
I saw
Let's
the
Get Physical.
share it on their Facebook.
I'm doing my plug. Stop. So go to the Type 1 Diabetes Family Centre. This is how we're making money in the future, is from me doing stuff like this. So I've got to get good at it. Let's Get Physical. www.raisley.com is where you're going to go. I'll post a link in the comments below, and you can pick a challenge for anyone watching, and let's get physical.
I also made a post on their Facebook page, Type 1 Family Centre. You can just share that in the group.
Yeah, I'll do that as well then.
I think you should cut the last 5 minutes and then just do that little bit again and stick it. Right.
Okay, ready? All right, sweet. Everyone pause.
Cut.
Yeah, everyone pause. Ready? Jules, look up. And 3, 2, 1. For anyone that is wanting to do so we can do it again. This is the hard bit. When you stop the flow, Simon, it becomes hard.
I'm hungry. Haven't eaten.
All right, we're back in the room.
That's my attempt at Adam drawing.
Yeah.
Why has he got a hat?
It's a top hat.
Why has he got a hat? What are you doing, Walter White?
Let's do this plug.
All right, so guys, just got an email in because we're now famous and we obviously have a big enough following from the Type 1 Family Centre, okay? They're looking for any help they can get, obviously with raising funds, as the current situation of the world has obviously hit them quite hard as well as everyone else. It's easy for everyone to do. All you have to do is go to the Let's Get Physical challenge, okay? The internet is unstable, but that's okay. And we're going to come up with a challenge that all 4 of us are going to do, and we're going to go kick some butt. Okay? We'll tell you about the challenge tomorrow. So it's Let's Get Physical. I'll post a link or share their Facebook thing in the comments below or in the group, and we'll let you know what that is. So that's it for today. Simon, you got anything to add?
No, all good from me.
Jules, what are you working on?
Nope. I'm drawing.
Are you drawing an RKO?
No, I'm drawing. I'm about to do the hip thrust now, like Adam did.
I thought you were doing. I thought that was like you're figuring out the mechanics of an RKO.
I can do that for you.
Yeah, do that. Adam, anything? Haven't been asked to do any plugs or anything? Obviously not as famous as I
chicken
am.
for Ryan to get better internet.
Get better internet. It is a dream. I can't wait for Wednesday. Also, guys, tune in for Wednesday. I'm going to be on a roundtable discussion with the guys from All Things Education. I said it at the start, but I'm saying it again.
Everyone else will be talking while Ryan's frozen.
What's going to happen?
Yeah, get better internet before then, Ryan.
I'm going to be sitting there fangirling out, and they're going to be saying intelligent things. All right, from all of us here, please stay strong, stay safe, stay connected, and
Be formidable.
cheers, mate. Good.